Good morning, my Real News Midday TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, 9 shot, 1 dead in St. James drive-by shooting. 1 man is dead and 8 others injured, 2 critically, following a drive-by shooting on Hart Street, Montego Bay Friday afternoon. According to available information, about 5:45 p.m., men traveling in a Toyota Axia motor car alighted near an area where several individuals were gathered at the roadway and opened fire. The assailants were reportedly armed with high-powered rifles, and following the attack, 9 individuals had been shot. They were transported to hospital, where 1 man has since succumbed to the injuries he sustained. Acting Divisional Commander Superintendent Carlos Russell told the news that the police are still processing the scene as their investigations continue into the matter. Alleged West Kingston-based gangster shot dead by police. A reputed top-tier member of a West Kingston-based gang was fatally shot by the police on Thursday. Tajay Freeman, 31, otherwise called Weng, of Golden Heights, Denham Town, was fatally shot during a police operation along McQuaid Terrace in the St. Andrew South Police Division. Investigators say Freeman was a prominent member of the Scream Corner gang in the Kingston Western Police Division. It is reported that about 4:10 p.m., the police were carrying out a targeted operation in search of wanted men and persons of interest when they entered a property at 7 McQuaid Terrace, Kingston 11. The cops say they were greeted with a gunfire, and during a confrontation, Freeman was fatally shot and a firearm seized. Investigators say Freeman had been out on bail on a charge of murder. Justice Minister defends the police against the concerns about fatal shootings. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has expressed the support for the police, asserting that a significant number of police fatal shootings are justifiable. Addressing the matter at the Justices of the Peace Forum at a Church Teachers College in Mandeville on Thursday, he said the authorities will not allow gunmen to destroy the country. He argued that the law gives the police the power to use deadly force if confronted by armed suspects.
And what is the law? The law says you must not use excessive force, you must use reasonable force to apprehend criminals. No doubt, if the criminal is using a toothpick, you don't expect the police to be using deadly force. But if the criminal has a gun, it may well be that deadly force is in fact reasonable force. And that is the law. And that is why Mr. Hugh Faulkner will tell you that in 80 or 90% of the cases, they're able to say justifiable force was used even though the gunman was killed.
But Indecomm's Commissioner Hugh Faulkner, speaking at the same function, urged the Police High Command to consider using its comparative data on the number of fatal shootings to review the circumstances which led to the incident. Up to April 2, there had been 85 fatal shootings during alleged confrontations between the police and the criminals. Mr. Faulkner said the high number of fatalities over a relatively short period was of concern.
When we look at the data, at the end of March, which is just a few days ago, 81 persons were fatally injured. And we reached 81 in 2023 in July. And now we are at the end of March, we are at 81. So that is the concern. In other words, we're saying the security forces can review their activities to decide whether something can be done differently to ensure that there is less loss of life. So we find the numbers to be high, but we do not make a conclusionary comment on the incident.
Leslie Campbell fined $400,000 for breaching Integrity Commission Act. Leslie Campbell, a former Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, was on Friday fined $400,000 for breaching the Integrity Commission Act. Campbell was charged in 2023 following a recommendation from the Integrity Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince Kamika. The 63-year-old attorney was found guilty on December 12 in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court. The Integrity Commission said Campbell filed statutory declarations but did not provide additional information that had been requested. The Commission said the outstanding information includes the surrender value for 2 life insurance policies and the account balance linked to a bank loan. In addition to the fine, Senior Parish Court Judge Paula Blake Powell ordered that Campbell comply with the Integrity Commission's request by July 3. Campbell is to file his statement on the Sagicor bank account. He is also to provide his insurance policies and the periods and provide the cash surrender value and or investment value on the Sagicor life policies. Mr. Campbell's attorney, Matthew Hyatt, in his plea in mitigation, described his client as a moral citizen, explaining that he had dedicated part of his life to public service.
There were procedural breaches, and the court understood that he has always been a person of good character. He has no previous convictions, and he has always been frank and honest in his statutory declarations. And in fact, he has always filed his statutory declarations to the Integrity Commission. But nevertheless, we went to trial because we were of the firm belief that there were certain misunderstandings and mistakes. But the judge found him guilty, and we respect that decision. And Mr. Campbell has accepted the ruling, and we will just have to move on from here.
Man's decomposing body found at home in White House, Westmoreland. The Westmoreland police have launched an investigation into the discovery of a decomposing body in the parish on Thursday. The deceased has been identified as 42-year-old Fitzroy Smith of White House, Westmoreland. Smith's body was reportedly discovered at his dwelling by passers-by about 2:15 p.m. The police were summoned and the body, which was in a state of decomposition, was removed. The Negril Criminal Investigations Branch is conducting the probe of the matter. Licensed firearm holder gunned down after leaving supermarket in Kingston. The East Kingston police are probing the death of a licensed firearm holder on Thursday night along Antrim Road in Vineyard Town. The deceased has been identified as the 37-year-old Alric Sutton. Reports are that about 7 p.m., Sutton went to a nearby supermarket to purchase eggs, and while walking back to his car, he was attacked and shot by gunmen. He ran and collapsed along the roadway. He was assisted to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead. When the news arrived at the scene, onlookers, some who knew Sutton, were in shock and praying for him to survive. As at March 29, the Kingston Eastern Police recorded 5 murders, a 71% decline when compared to 17 for the corresponding period last year. St. Catherine man given 22-year sentence for raping a senior citizen. A St. Catherine man who pleaded guilty to raping an elderly woman was sentenced in the circuit court to 22 years and 5 months imprisonment on Friday. He is Gregory McLean, a 25-year-old laborer of Charlie Mount, St. Catherine. The accused was sentenced by Justice Bertram Morrison to 22 years and 5 months for rape and 5 years for indecent assault. Justice Morrison ruled that the accused should complete 22 years and 3 months before being eligible for parole. The court was told that a witness caught McLean raping the 68-year-old complainant at her home in Charlie Mount in February 2022. A report was made to the police and the accused was arrested and subsequently charged. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.